We are connecting with the live stream. Well, good morning, Unity of Music City. So great to see everybody back after a snow week. Thank goodness that's gone, right? Well, let's start the service off right. So on behalf of Reverend Deb Moore, I'm Ryan Gill. This is Mary Grace. We're going to start off by singing two songs today, Swing Wide the Doors and How Could Anyone? So let's all stand up. Let's get our energy focused on having a great service today. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Ring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. Sing it again. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. Well, I'm not holding it in anymore. I'm gonna shout it out loud. I understand now what I'm here for and what this life is about. It's about love, it's about laughter, it's about comfort and smiles. It's about love, it's about kindness, it's about hearts open wide. It's about love, it's about passion, it's about taking a chance. It's about love, it's about service, it's about lending a hand. Lending a hand. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. Well, there's a voice that I've heard for years. I've learned to keep it inside. Well, now it's coming in loud and clear. I want a deeper life. It's about love, it's about laughter, it's about comfort and smiles. It's about love, it's about kindness, it's about hearts open wide. It's about love, it's about passion, it's about taking a chance. It's about love, it's about service, it's about lending a hand. Lending a hand. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart. One more time. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How deeply you're connected to my soul. Ooh, you sound beautiful. Please be seated. All right, it's time to dismiss our youth, but before we do that, let's give them a blessing to take into their week. Here we go. Youth of Unity of Music City, we see you, we love you, and we bless you. You're a shining star for all to see what your life can truly be. Have fun, guys. That's all right. It's like, I don't know, all that attention.
Good morning, Unity of Music City.
Good morning.
We're going to start this service by taking a deep, centering breath. Today's centering thought is, I am tuned in to the peace of God. Before I can use a computer, use my smartphone, or watch television, I first have to power it up. All of the information I need, entertaining programs, and beautiful music are mine to learn from and enjoy whenever I turn on the power and tune into the right service, network, or station. The concept of turning on and tuning in is true of my spiritual life as well. To experience and enjoy the love, joy, and peace of the divine, I need to power up my awareness to it and then tune in to the divine source of it. The presence of the divine within me is a source of power that I can draw on to calm, uplift, and nurture me at any time and through whatever challenges life brings to me. So in the middle of stressful or confusing situations, I can be at peace. There's no denying that the peace of God is within me and fills me with serenity. And now please repeat these affirming statements after me. I surrender to peace and let it heal my soul. I surrender to peace and let it heal my soul. My heart is a sanctuary of peace, love, and understanding. heart is a sanctuary of peace, love, and understanding. I am a conduit of peace and allow it to radiate out into my world. I am a conduit of peace and allow it to radiate out into my world. And so it is.
So it is. Well, welcome to the sanctuary at Unity of Music City, and this is a sanctuary by every definition of sanctuary that we have. It's a place where we can come and power up for the week and increase our spiritual awareness. And what a joy it is to have a place that we can come to and be centered in that thought. So welcome, everyone. We are glad to be back after a week of snow and cold and a 60-degree swing in the weather. But thank you, Mother Nature, for warming it up. Right? We are grateful for that. So I'm glad you didn't go far. I think we've got some announcements for the week to come. We are a busy spiritual community.
Can use the QR code to get to the Safe Pass site for meal volunteers. Please also remember to bring in unexpired food items for us to create food. Please see Sarah Esper with any questions. Book Club Series, Build the Life You Want, The Art and Science of Getting Happier by Arthur Brooks and Oprah Winfrey. Mondays through February 19th at 6:30 via Zoom. This book can be purchased on Amazon. The class is facilitated by Deborah Champion. Is she here? I haven't seen her. No. $30 suggested donation. The January 20th vision boarding with Aubrey has been rescheduled for February 3rd from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Yes, we had a skunk episode. Mm-hmm. We got skunked. So we had to reschedule a few items. The Healing Arts Zoom meeting is Tuesday, January 30th from 6 to 7. A membership orientation class will be beginning late this January and ending early March. Simply submit a membership application found on the homepage of unityofmusiccity.com. Applications should be submitted as soon as possible so the class schedule can be determined by the group. See Valerie Dennison if you have questions, or email the church office. Leadership Council meeting at Ren Road, Sunday, February 4th at 12:45 p.m. Feel free to bring lunch or go grab something and bring it back. Join Steph for the Happy Class, Thursday, February 8th from 6:30 to 7:30. Cost is $20. This class will feature a move, groove, and stretch with cardio drumming, and a Reiki relax with aromatherapy and hot stones. Only 10 spots available. Sign-ups are at the front bulletin board. And, of course, on here it says the front bullion board. So I'm looking forward to that. Celebrate the year of the wood dragon. Y'all thought since Julie wasn't here, you weren't going to get to laugh. So
that darn spell check.
Bullion board. Love it. Celebrate the year of the wood dragon with Frank, Saturday, February 10th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., sponsored by the Healing Arts. Group meditation with Deborah Champion will resume on the third Thursday of the month, beginning on February 15th from 6:30 to 7:30 here at Ren Road. All levels welcome for guided and silent meditation sessions. Love offering is appreciated. FYI, we have been granted permission to use the parking next door at the new Foot and Ankle Clinic. Yay.
That's a new parking lot, too.
Yeah, it is. Brand new. We get to scuff it up.
Break it in.
Oh, it's not like the people, they'll be like limping going in there. So.
If you're on crutches, you can just stay.
Or in wheelchairs, so we'll get to have the first feet on the ground experience. All activities or meeting links and contact numbers can be found on the website, the weekly happenings, Google Calendar, or you can always email the church.
I think it's, kind of sucks that the skunk decided to spray a couple of days ago because he kind of ruined a couple of events for us. But I do understand why the skunk was attracted to Unity of Music City, because we are such an awesome place to want to come to, right? So, but I got a feeling that he was interfered with by something, or something or somebody. So, but it is what it is, and we love all creatures. So today is the last Sunday of January, and is that a yay? Oh, we got a yay. Okay, all right. I think it's kind of moving pretty fast for me. I don't know. But yay for that. Are you happy that this is the last time we sing "Stand in Your Truth"? I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. Just ready for spring. That's right. It's one week closer to spring, right? So this is the last week we're going to sing "Stand in My Truth." Don't need to say anything about it. Let's just stand and sing. 1, 2. I'm not gonna give in to this world's misery. I've learned a lesson that always sets me free. In any situation, the best thing I can do is to know who I am and let that light shine through. I'm gonna stand in my truth. Stand in my truth. I'm gonna stand in my truth and let my troubles go. I'm gonna stand in my truth. Stand in my truth. I'm gonna whisper a prayer to claim my power to make it so. I will not get caught up in other people's stuff. Keeping my focus for me is quite enough. When I'm feeling cornered, I get still and breathe and remember who I am and all that I believe. I'm gonna stand in my truth. Stand in my truth. I'm gonna stand in my truth and let my troubles go. I'm gonna stand in my truth. Stand in my truth. I'm gonna whisper a prayer to claim my power to make it so. I'm gonna stand in my truth. Stand in my truth. I'm gonna stand in my truth and let my troubles go. I'm gonna stand in my truth. Stand in my truth. I'm gonna whisper a prayer to claim my power to make it so. I'm gonna whisper a prayer to claim my power to make it so. I'm gonna whisper a prayer to claim my power to make it so. Make it so. Please be seated.
I think that the skunk was drawn to the energy to come and stand in his truth.
And smell in his truth.
And he encountered his ego. His ego, by the way, is the name of the Springer Spaniel that lives 2 doors down. It just stinks.
I'm just offering.
That's quite all right, though. I welcome you to the Sanctuary of Unity of Music City, and I invite you right now to take a moment with me, to close your eyes if that feels comfortable. To lower your shoulders and maybe take a few cleansing breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. The breath has a way of cleaning out the cobwebs. And I invite you for this moment to not wrestle with your ego, to just set it aside. Set aside all of the concerns of this week. Set aside even the joys. Set aside what felt challenging, and also set aside what felt good. And for this moment, leave everything outside the door of your being. For this moment together, just become aware. I'm asking that you not even meditate, for that too is a kind of doing. Just be in awareness of the self that observes. The self that is the highest part of you, that was never born and will never die. For just a moment, notice. Notice that this is your true nature. And it is not separate from the energy of divine love that permeates the entire universe. It is an expression of it, part of it, one with it. For this moment together, I invite you to just notice this in the stillness, in the silence. We do not feel the spirit of divine love. We are one with the spirit of divine love. We do not sense this holy instant. We are the energy of this holy instant. To become awake to that, to become aware of that, is to dive into the sacredness of our own being, to dive in to the holy nature of our higher self. I invite you to stay in this noticing energy and just listen to Ryan sing.
Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Everything I've ever done, everything I've ever seen, everything I've lost or won, everything I've ever dreamed has brought me here to the present moment, here to a new beginning here, and I'm seeing life so clearly now. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Here I go, deeper, deeper, deeper than I've ever been before. Here I go, closer, closer, closer to my sacred source. Here I go, deeper, deeper, deeper than I've ever been before. Here I go, closer, closer, closer to my sacred source. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Get ready, my soul.
Whoa. First off, Ryan. Oh my gosh. That was gorgeous. I was in some other land over there. I've been to China, and Beijing is having beautiful weather today. Woo, here we go. Today's talk is called Diving In, but that's not the full title of it. Diving in again for the first time. Diving in again for the first time. What does that mean? How can that be possible? How can we dive in again for the first time? I think we can. And I think by the time we're done, maybe you'll understand what I mean. If I lay this out well, you'll understand what I mean. So if you've been hanging around here for a long time, then you've seen me play with my little wooden boxes here, right? And so you know that I use these as a metaphor for the different layers of personhood and personality that we put over our true nature. The whole goal of spiritual evolution, spiritual journeying, spiritual transformation is diving into that true nature of who we are. But first, we have to uncover it. Spiritual discovery is more of a spiritual uncovering, right? Uncovering what is already there. Your awakened, enlightened, higher vibration, true nature is already there. You don't have to create it. You don't have to find it. You just have to uncover it, right? And so on this outer layer, we have what I think of as our person, our identity. This is our body and our face and our name. This is the person who, when we walk in a room, someone goes, "Oh, Deb's here," right? This is that person. And we have to set that aside. It contains a lot of our ego, but all of these contain our ego a little bit, right? We have to kind of set it aside. Forget this idea of who we think we are, the Deb that looks in the mirror and sees a face that looks familiar. We have to set that aside. And then, of course, the next layer I think of as our kind of our psychological self. Our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions. Some of that gets shown to the world. Some of it squirts out sideways on the world. Some of it we hide, right? We don't ever show to the world. We have to take that identity too and set it aside. And then this is the self that I like to call the seeker self. This is our spiritual journeyer. This is that self that goes to workshops and reads books and has to transform, right? This is a very important self. It is both, can be potentially a doorway through which we enter our higher nature, and it can be a fence that guides us, keeps us from it. The biggest obstacle, because we get all identified with this seeker self. But we have to put it aside too. We have to get to the true nature of who we are, which is pure oneness, pure unity, pure divine love, our higher being that lives in us, as us, through us, was never born and will never die, where we are one with all creation. And when we learn to identify with this, when we become more aware of this and we live in the awakening nature of being, of acknowledging this, then we start to become more transparent, right? And those outer layers become something through which our divine nature can shine all the time, right? What if we don't get rid of them? We don't lose our beingness, who we are, our talents, our skills. We just learn to let our divine nature shine through them. That's your quick review right there. I think there are many more layers to most human beings. Those are big, huge layers. We can all probably identify different layers that we have on ourselves. But today, I want to talk for just a moment about a layer that I think lurks behind each one of these. It kind of tucks up behind each one and it hides there. And especially this seeker self. It loves to hide behind this seeker self. And that is what I want to call the hurt self. Right? The self that can feel wounded. The self that can feel a kind of brokenness. The self that tells you you're not good enough. The self that says if they really find out, they find out how little I know, how horrible I am at doing this. This is the self that feeds us imposter syndrome, right? And it loves to hide behind any one of these, but it especially loves to hide behind this seeker self, this spiritual self, because especially when we're in spiritual community with one another, and when we have been doing this for a long time, heaven forbid that we show anything other than we've got it all figured out. We know the story to this. We know the answer to this, right? And so this is what ends up happening. Church is too often the most risky place to be spiritually honest. This is the last place some of us would think of coming in and saying, I don't know if I believe anything this week. I've just been struggling, in pain, hurting, right? Maybe it's all just a pile of crap. Maybe we're just animals. We're just physical animals that we're just born, right? And we're going to die. We're just part of an evolutionary springing forth. We're just on this petri dish called Earth. Maybe I just don't understand any of it. I'm having a struggle in my relationships. How can I focus on the spirituality? All of these things are happening for me. And then we walk through the doors here and we're like, right, holy. We've got it all figured out. And I think one of the reasons why we do that, don't know what's going on with this, but that's all right. I think one of the reasons why we do that is because we know that if we walk in here and we say, man, I've been struggling this week, we can't help it. Whoever we say that to is going to have a suggestion. Right? Well, have you tried breath work? Well, you know what you should do? You should come to this class. You should read this book. You should go to this workshop. And they have the best intentions. They really do. But I'm hoping that we as a spiritual community can try something with each other. That we can try just listening. Just making the space for that to be. Because the truth of the matter is, you have no idea what their answer is. I have no idea what their answer is. But to just let that space be there. And trust that if you have something they need to know, that Spirit will direct them to say, do you have any ideas? What would you do? What do you think? Right? And just listen, to allow space for us to be exactly who we are. You think that's true for you. Ministers go through the same stuff. Ministers struggle, wrestle with our angels, wrestle with our demons, right? We go through all this. Our leadership goes through the same stuff. Yes, the idea is that hopefully you get to a point in your spiritual journey where you don't wrestle quite so much. You figured some things out, although here's the key. We've figured some things out, but there's nothing to figure out. That's the problem. There's nothing to figure out. I've mentioned to you that what I keep getting about this year for Unity of Music City is this is the year of living enlightenment, of living our awareness, of living our awakening. And how do we do that? Where do we begin in doing that? How do we put aside everything we think we know and dive in again as if for the first time? If you are sitting here thinking to yourself, well, I don't even know what enlightenment is, I'm still pursuing it. I don't even know what awakeness or awareness, I'm not quite sure what Deb talks about when she's saying that stuff. Or if you're sitting here going, oh yeah, I remember September 27th, 1992, I woke up, right? I was awake, I became enlightened. That happened for me, right? I invite all of us to come back to the same exact point and stand at the edge again. Right? Stand there together. There is a term in Zen Buddhism called Shoshin. In Japan, we have the phrase Shoshin, which means beginner's mind. The goal of practice is to always keep our beginner's mind. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few. The more that we think we've figured out our spiritual path, the more locked in we are to, this is the path. Instead of stepping back and going, I've enjoyed traveling this path for a while, but let's keep all the options open. As long as we're still moving up the mountain. Our spiritual seeker is the expert. It's the one that is most susceptible to spiritual hubris. And therefore, the spiritual seeker expert is most likely to have hiding right behind it that little doubter, right? That little questioner. And when we want to open our minds to all of the possibilities, we have to go back to beginner's mind. That expert, by the way, has sometimes a sense of superiority. Oh, I know. I've read all about that. I've become the expert in that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Know that when I talk about this, we love those experts. This being that might need to learn something to figure out how to get out of the way, this being needs those experts sometimes, right? But then when we become too attached, too identified with those experts, we begin to get a sense of superiority. And I'll tell you this, a sense of superiority does not coexist with oneness. Oneness and superiority have nothing to do with each other. They are diametrically opposed to one another. So letting all of that go. To dive back in again is to go to beginner's mind and start there, even in this space, even in this community. I want to tell you a story about a guy named Nicodemus. Now, for those of you who carry any kind of fundamentalist trauma, breathe right now, all right? Just breathe real big, because this is one of those spots in the Bible where some of that fundamentalist trauma can come from. But let me just tell you, that trauma doesn't come from the stories. It comes from the guilt and shame and judgment that gets attached to those stories when they're told to you, right? And so we're going to try to revisit this story without any of that. We don't need it. It's not needed. So I want to tell you about Nicodemus. This is in the 3rd chapter of John. Nicodemus is a Pharisee. He's one of the ruling level of Jewish people. Remember, the Roman Empire was in charge of that area of the world back then, and they basically said to the Jewish people in Jerusalem and in that part of Palestine, they said, listen, we'll leave you alone, just don't let any trouble happen. Right? The problem is, when the quote-unquote good guys get in bed with the quote-unquote bad guys, the good guys have a tendency to pick up the residue of the, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so the ruling group of the Jews, the Pharisees, They didn't need any rabble-rousers going around saying, I'm the Messiah. You're causing a problem, right? So they're really the ones who wanted to suppress Jesus and his message. In the nighttime, because Nicodemus could not have anyone see him, in the night he comes to Jesus and he says, we know you're from God. We know that. You couldn't do what you do without being from God. And Jesus says to him, you're right, because this is cocky Jesus, right? You're right, I'm from God. And you know what? If you want to experience the kingdom of heaven, hold on, fasten your seatbelts, you must be born again. That's where that born again phraseology comes from, the born again evangelicalism. And of course, Nicodemus' question is, how can that happen? How can I be born again when I've already been born out of my mother's womb? I want to tell you this story from the Message because I love the wording of that. It's one of my favorite versions of the scriptures. Listen to the way it's said here. There was a man of the Pharisee sect, Nicodemus, a prominent leader among the Jews, and late one night he visited Jesus and said, Rabbi, we all know you're a teacher straight from God. No one could do all the God-pointing, God-revealing acts you do if God wasn't in on it. And Jesus said, you're absolutely right. Take it from me. Unless a person is born from above, it's not possible to see what I'm pointing to God's kingdom. How can anyone, said Nicodemus, be born who has already been born and grown up? You can't re-enter your mother's womb and be born again. What are you saying with this born from above talk? Jesus said, you're not listening. Let me say it again. Unless a person submits to this original creation, the wind hovering over the water creation, the invisible moving the visible, a baptism into a new life, it's not possible to enter God's kingdom. When you look at a baby, it's just that. A body you can look at and touch. But the person who takes shape within the baby is formed by something you can't see and touch, the spirit, and becomes a living spirit. So don't be surprised when I tell you that you have to be born from above, out of this world, so to speak. You know well enough how the wind blows this way and that. You hear it rustling through the trees, but you have no idea where it comes from or where it's headed next. That's the way it is with everyone born from above by the wind of God, the Spirit of God. Isn't that beautiful? The only thing I think I would change, I change in my own mind for that, instead of being born from above, born from within. Being born from within, letting my true nature come out and be born from within. It was never born, first off, right? It's always been part of the oneness of spirit. And this is the beauty. All of the great teachers have taught this same idea. You express in this one way, but you must be born again into your higher nature. You must be born from within. We see the same kind of idea in the Bhagavad Gita. So based upon the recent gathering that we had, the community visioning gathering, I heard a lot of what people want to hear about. We're probably going to spend the next couple of weeks, I don't know how long, probably up through Easter, studying Hinduism and the Bhagavad Gita, which is some beautiful, beautiful truths right here. It's going to lead us up into March. March is busy, busy, busy. It's got two major Hindu festivals, Mahashivratri and Holi, and it's also got Easter this year. It also has the start of Ramadan in Islam. March is the holiest month in the history of months, basically. Basically. So that's right. So Bhagavad Gita, let me share with you what this says that's very similar to that. Chapter 7 of the Bhagavad Gita says, all beings are born to ignorance, ruled by aversion and craving. Aversion and craving, the push and the pull of the dynamic world, right? the stuff we detest and the stuff we want, right? The stuff that disgusts us and the stuff that we desire. The stuff that we want to push away and the stuff that we are attached to. All beings are born in this level of ignorance, ruled by aversion and craving. This Arjuna is the person being spoken to in the Bhagavad Gita. We'll learn all about him next week. This Arjuna is the primal duality that keeps them bound. Now remember, in unity, which is one of the ideas that unity gets directly from Hinduism, is the idea of non-dualism, right? The idea that we are one. If we are one, there can't be an I and you, right? There can't be an I and thou God, right? God's up there, I'm down here. Instead, there is unity. So this is the primal duality. Duality you can think of non-unity. This is the primal non-unity that keeps them bound. But when a man is released from dualities, to be released from dualities means that I step into oneness. The only way to be released from dualities fully is to step into my true nature, right? To be born from within. He can act purely, without attachment, and can serve me with all of his heart. And what that means, of course, is can serve the sacred, can serve the holy, can become everything that he is destined to be, because he's been born into something different, a different idea. I've recently been reading a book called Climbing the Blue Mountain by Eknath Easwaran, and he talks about watching a documentary many, many years ago about penguins. And in this this is many years ago, this is before the Morgan Freeman documentary on penguins, right? Which is the best, because anything that Morgan Freeman says is truth. We just know by the sound of his voice. If Morgan Freeman says it, or Maya Angelou, that's it. It's true. And so he's watching this documentary about penguins, and in the documentary it's talking about penguin parents. Now, penguin parents are they're famously good parents. Right? The mother and the father, an egg is laid, they take care of that egg in that cold, frigid air, and then the chick hatches, and then they take care of this chick. They feed it 5 times a day. One of them keeps it warm, the other one goes and gets food and comes back and feeds their baby chick 5 times a day for about 5 months. Right? This goes on while this chick grows, and all these little penguins have kind of given birth at the same time, and the eggs all hatch at the same time, and all these little penguins grow up to about 5 months, and that's when they have their first molting. They lose all their little baby penguin feathers, and they start to get their big penguin feathers and all this kind of stuff. And they're 5 months old, and it's time. Now, in other bird species like ducks and swans, the mamas take the babies to the water and teach them. They show them the water. You've seen a picture of a duck with all the little baby ducks following along behind, and they get in the water and they swim around together, and mama's kind of introducing them to the water. But penguins aren't like that. At a certain time, 5 months, they've molted. The mama and the daddy just leave. They just go away. And so there's this very sad little picture for a while of all these little baby penguins in their, nests, squawking, getting hungry, wondering where mom and dad have gone, right? And they feel a little lost. And a couple days go by. And in this documentary, there's one little especially inquisitive penguin. Let's call her Polly the penguin. Polly the penguin has more inquisitiveness than anyone else, and she finally gets out of her nest on about day 3 and starts walking around on the ice. She's hungry, she's starving, she gets back in her nest. I'm not sure about that. And then finally, day 4, it's now become a matter of survival. It's like we don't know we got to figure this out. We're starving. And so Polly the penguin is the most inquisitive, so she goes out and she walks right over to the edge of the water, right over to the ocean she's never seen, the ocean she has never been in. And somehow, instinctively, she knows that ocean is calling to her. Right? It's calling. Somehow, I know the answer is in there. And so Polly gets enough courage to be the first one to jump. Except it doesn't really look like that. It looks more like this. Right? Little bitty baby penguin trying to figure out what's going on, jumping into the water for the first time. And in the documentary, Polly goes down under the water and she disappears. Right? The cameraman is showing you the top of the water. You're looking at the surface of the water. Everybody watching the documentary is holding their breath at the same time, trying to figure out what's going to happen. And within about 30 seconds, Polly's head comes out of the water. And if a penguin can smile, Polly is smiling, right? She's chittering, and she's talking, and she's laughing, and she's just as happy as she can be. And it sounds like in the documentary that she's saying to all of her compadres up on the shore, this is it. This is what we were born for. This is home. Come on home. And so slowly, one after the other, they start diving in. And they realize that everything they need is there. All the nourishment, right? Everything that's going to perpetuate them. It's home. And it's kind of the way we feel standing there waiting to dive into our spiritual nature. There's something, all of these kinds of personalities we put on the outside of us, our hurtness, our woundedness, the things that cause us to hide behind our seeker self, our psychological self, right? All of those things are scared. What will happen if we dive into a place we've never been that causes us to let go of the shore? What happens is we come home. What happens is we understand our true nature. Now, I'm going to go one better than that. You could sit here and say that we're the penguins in this, but I'm going to give us one deeper layer of metaphor. Thich Nhat Hanh says, enlightenment is when a wave realizes it is the ocean. And I'm going to suggest to you that when we get ready to dive in again for the first time to the awareness of our spiritual nature, that we only think we're penguins. We only think we're penguins standing on the shore. And then when we dive in, not only do we feel at home, we realize, oh my gosh, I was a wave the entire time. I was a wave and I'm part of the ocean. And that is awareness. That is awakening. That is enlightenment. I'm interested in diving into that all over again for the very first time. Do you remember the very first time? Maybe I'll come up with some example here. If you haven't experienced this, don't worry about it. But maybe the very first time that you really, really, really went deep in a meditation, and it felt like you were almost floating, and then you're like, oh, I got it, that's it. And then for about a month, you go back and you try to meditate, and you can't grab it. You can't feel, you're like, how did we do that? Maybe it was just that first time. It's like the first time you fall in love. Remember the first time you fall in love? Oh my gosh, you will never feel that feeling again in your life. Doesn't matter what happens. That very first time. I'm going to suggest to you that you can. I'm going to suggest to you that you can dive in again for the very first time. We're going to start a couple of things this year. We're going to start probably on Wednesday evenings, probably in March. We're going to start a pause and practice, a time that we're going to gather together on Zoom during the week, and we're going to share a little bit, and then we're going to try some different practices out, some breathing, some meditational practices, because I don't know what's going to have you dive in. The best I can do is continue to offer different things and see what works, what catches, and to hold your hand along the way as we both dive in together for the very first time. I've been doing something this year. I meditate regularly. I have for years and years and years. I take the time, and I don't even know, some days it's not even meditation. It's just taking the time to get centered. It's taking the time to devote this moment to my spiritual highest self. You know that I'm a follower of Muji, and he doesn't talk a lot about meditation. He talks about just sitting still and noticing. Just notice again. And the beauty of that is that I can take that with me everywhere. I can feel that driving in my car. I can feel that at work in a meeting. I can take that noticing with me everywhere. But I decided at the beginning of this year, sometimes, you might meditate regularly or take time regularly or have a practice, but then, you forget one day or you get off or, it just goes to the sideline. But I made another decision to commit at the beginning of this year to taking that time every single day in 2024. Every single day. And it's especially important in the role that I have in attempting to help others, that I stay as centered as I possibly can. So I've done it so far every day. I encourage you, if you don't have the Insight Timer app or the Calm app or one of those that can track it for you, it helps. It helps to know, right, that you can continue, so you see you doing it every day. I invite you to join with me. It doesn't matter that we're past January 1st. I invite you to join with me in some level of commitment for yourself. So the first step we're going to say of diving in, what is diving? Okay, it's fine, I want to do that, but what does it mean? I'm going to suggest that one thing we can do to begin with is that we all determine in our heart of hearts, what is one commitment to my spiritual self that I can make right now? Right? Maybe it's taking that time. It doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes. Doesn't matter what it is. What am I going to do to say, this is me being committed to diving in to my own awakening, to being born from within again all over? Are you with me? Can we do that? All right. Namaste.
I too have made that commitment. And the first day that I did it, see, I work from home, and so I sit at my desk all day. I listen to music and all this stuff, but the first day I thought, okay, this is going to be a standing meditation because I sit all day. So I have a window that looks out into the backyard, and I thought, there's my spot. I'm going to stand, and I'm just going to look outside. I'm going to clear my mind for 5 minutes. The first day I go, I open the curtains, and I start looking, and do you know what happened? The most beautiful hawk landed right there on the tree and stared at me. He wasn't really staring at me, but I felt like he was staring at me saying, good on you. This is great. Keep it up. And I'm like, oh, so that was a few weeks of encouragement there for me, at least to keep up that practice. And it is my intention to be like Polly Penguin and wake up every morning and say, let's dive in. What does the day bring for me? So I'm grateful for Reverend Deb to give us those kind of suggestions that kind of help us in our daily life, right? Those practical suggestions are what get us through, right? Does anybody have anything else that they're grateful for the week that has been, or just grateful for something in your life right now? Let's talk about gratitude for just a second. Who has something they'd like to share?
I'm getting ready to move into a new place. It's going to be my first place on my own.
Wow.
It's been really stressful. A lot has happened. The place has changed 3 different times, and right now the lease office is struggling because my deposit was originally somewhere else, but now they want to move me to a different unit, and it's not transferring. But I know it'll work through.
Mhm.
I just started seeing someone, and they have been such big support in the amount of stress I've been feeling, and not only trying to figure out my whole living situation and getting out by February 1st, but also just like the whole having to transfer to a different part of the city and everything else.
Yeah. Well, we love you, and we bless your journey. And if we can support you, you just say the word. We'll be there. Who else has something? Thankful for great medical professionals. Absolutely. Anybody, anything? Good health. Another year for good health. Good. Friends and support. Anybody, anything else? All right. Well, let's take a look at the finances from the week that were and the week that was, went, the weeks that were. Right. Obviously, we weren't here last week, so we didn't have anything in the blue vase, but you can make up for that today. So this is from 2 weeks ago. Great job, everybody. Awesome job. Let's keep it up this week and make up for not being here last week. And keep that as when you make your plans for February. Always think about your spiritual community. Let's all say our offertory affirmation together. I feel like we haven't said it in a while. So let's say it together. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I choose to give and all that I am open to receive. And let's sing I Am Grateful as a prayer to everything we're grateful for. I am grateful for another day of living. I'm grateful for a new chance to forgive. I'm grateful to receive life's many blessings. And I'm grateful for the love I have to give. I am grateful for another day of living. I'm grateful for a new chance to forgive. I'm grateful for receive life's many blessings. And I'm grateful for the love I have to give. Yes, I'm grateful for the love I have to give. Welcome the kids back. All right, everyone. I want to remind you to check the What's Happening website this week for all of the stuff that's coming up. Let's stand up together as we prepare to leave, and let's say the prayer for protection to take us into the next week. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. We let it be. We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the love wash over us. We let it be. Peace. We let the peace wash over us. We let it be. We let the peace wash over us. We let it be. Joy. We let the joy wash over us. We let it be. We let the joy wash over us. wash over us. We let it be. We let the love wash over us. Watch me. We let it be. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.